Today I'm going to show you how I created the roses for these beautiful flower bouquets. I found the pattern on Design Space for Cricut, and there were different flowers that I used. I used spiral flowers for the smaller pieces, and I used a variety of different shapes of the spiral flowers just to kind of fill in. They're not all roses, but they're different types of flowers. But the focal piece will be these big roses. So when I went to Design Space, I found a summer flower bouquet. And I know this might be a little bit hard to show you on video, but this will be the bouquet that I am working with. And it has 15 petals to it, plus the leaf, as well as the base pieces for the flower. This particular bouquet will give you all of the spiral flowers that you need to create the bouquet, as well as the rose that we are using. There are other flower bouquets that you can use that are not as full. They have just a few less petals. They're not as full. So you have different options of things that you can use there. This is something similar to the pattern that I am using. If I can get the glare off of the iPad. I went ahead and prepared most of my flower petals just to save time. So the first step is that I like to do is what I consider to be like the business end of the flower. I like to prepare the base of the flower ahead of time, and I start by rolling with a pencil or just something small that you can use just to give the flower petals a little bit of a natural curve. What you can't see probably on video is that there are lots of splits in this paper. And the little splits are where you're going to insert each flower petal. The big one is the one that I'm going to do to roll this up to make this the part of the flower that you're putting all of the petals into. So I'm taking the side that doesn't have the splits in it, and I'm just rolling it toward the center, and I'm going to insert this tab into the long cut. And I like to use hot glue. It doesn't matter what kind of glue you use as long as it holds your paper. I prefer using something that is quick drying. I know there might be Loctite or other types of glue that you might prefer to use, but I like to use hot glue. And so I'm just going to put a little dab of hot glue up here. You don't want to put it anywhere where the splits are because you might glue them down and you'll have a hard time getting your petals in later. Just put a little bit of glue right there and make sure that it's all pushed in like it's supposed to be. You do have to act quick because it will dry fast. This one wants to be a little difficult, but it's no big deal. So just kind of let it dry a little bit. Then I move on to the next part. Now this piece is the very center of your rose. This will actually pull your entire rose together when you're done. So I like to just kind of roll the top of the petals again. And this one has two splits in it, and it's not quite centered. So I'm going to take the one that's closest to the tab, put the tab through the first split, and pull it through. And I think I'm actually going to turn it around and do it this way, so that way the white side of this paper is toward the back so that it will match. Keeping the colors facing toward the center. This one wants to be a little difficult. Sometimes working with paper is a little harder than the cardstock. It's a little flimsier and it does tear a little bit. So with the tab, then what I do is just put a tiny little dab of glue on there just to glue it down so that it stays in place. Otherwise it will pop out. You don't want that. Just put a little glue there. And then with this other tab, I'm going to take it and wrap it completely around, and if it glues it down, that's fine. I'm just going to put it in the other tab and stick a little bit of glue on there. Again, to hold it into place. And then what I do is I take a floral pick and I will just put a little glue on the very end of it. and just stick it in here and just glue it to any part of the flower. It doesn't matter where, as long as it's glued on there. And then just let that dry. To prepare the petals, like I said before, I prepared a bunch of them, all of them except for one of each size ahead of time, just to save a little time. The first thing I do is I roll back the tips of the petal again. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. And then I will glue one side all the way down to the bottom, because with paper it actually helps it so you can insert it better. And then I'll just make it like he's crossing his legs and glue him down, meeting it up at the bottom. So so that it's all the same at the bottom. So there's your rose petal. And you just do this with all of them until they're complete. It helps when you roll the tips of the petals down, because then it kind of gives your flower a natural look to it. And again, maybe this might be a little easier to see because it's a little bit bigger. He's just going to cross his legs right there. Hold it down until it dries. And now all of the petals are complete. The other part that I want to show you is the greenery. And this is how it will look when it's done. And I just fold this down like so and fold in all of the tabs. And it does have a tab on it, but I don't usually use the tab because it doesn't match up very well for what I like. So I usually go and almost match these two leaves up. You can match them up if you want to, or you can cut one off. I just leave it because it just adds to fullness. The main goal is, for me, what I like is to make sure this all matches. So that's why I do it that way. Fold it back a little bit, put on the glue. And then to get this part to match, I go all the way around. I just glue it all the way around. And then I will make sure the tabs are all inside as I'm gluing it. You want to be careful not to burn yourself because this glue is very hot. And just hold it like that until it's dry enough. And then just set it aside for later. The piece that has all of the splits in it is how we are going to start assembling the rose. So you're holding it up like this, and so all of the little slits that you see at the very top are the ones we're going to work with the smaller rose petals. So I just take it, and I just take a petal and then insert it into the top split, and then I bend it back, and I do put some hot glue on there just because I don't want the petals to fall out. And I turn it, and I go to the next one. Bend it back, glue it. The next top one. Okay. And there are 5 of these in this size, but there are not 5 splits that go clear across the top. So I put in the 4, and then I just kind of look at it to see where I want to go next. So then I'll just keep turning this around to find the next one that is the highest split. And there are a couple that are similar, so I'm just going to pick one and just put it in its place here. Do the same thing. Don't worry about the glue string because you can pick it off later. Okay, so I put all of them on that one. So now I'm going to go to the next size, and there are only 3 in this next size. So I try to space them around the flower as much as possible. Okay, bend it back. Each of these roses will take me about 25 minutes or so from start to finish to make them. Oh, here's one at the top. We'll want to put that up there. And because there's only 3 of these, I like to put the 2 in and just kind of take a look so that it's balanced out. I have one here and one here. So I might want to put one over here, but there isn't really a split in the middle, so I'm just going to take the next closest one, as long as it's one of the top ones, because you always want to work toward the bottom. Insert it. Glue it. And then I just kind of take the rose and I just sort of hold it all there to let pieces dry. And I'm going to start on the long, big, actually the last pieces in there, the big ones. So I'm just going to find the nearest split, put it in, glue it down. And I still like to work in a pattern where I always work from the top of the splits to the bottom, and that way the flower kind of folds naturally around the petals. Okay, looks like we're about even, so I can just be working anywhere I want, because now I'm pretty much at the bottom row of everything. Once in a while I end up with an extra rose petal because I didn't find all of the splits, but you know what, you just aren't going to notice. You're just not going to notice the missing rose petal, or I might slip it in somewhere else and just glue it on without it being in a slit, because you're not going to notice it at all. By the time you put the base on with the greenery, you just aren't going to notice it. So that one is not wanting to cooperate right there, so I'll just find another one. Slide that in there. Okay, fold the rose up. Now I have 2 more. There's one there. Once you get the hang of it, it really goes pretty fast, and there's really just not a lot of work to do. This takes a little bit of time. Now this one here was causing a little bit of problems earlier, so I have an X-Acto knife that I use, and it's very, very sharp, so you never want to point it towards yourself. And I'm just going to kind of maybe go in here and just push open the split to allow me to insert this petal. And it's going to go in. Sometimes you can reach through and pull it all the way in like that, and then just glue them down. So your rose is almost complete. This is how it looks after you put all of the petals in. Now, what I was saying earlier is this part here is the center of your rose, and it really makes the difference. So I will just put a little bit of glue around the bottom of it. Doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm just going to take it and put it right in the middle of my rose. Pull it through. Make sure that it's touching the paper inside. And there's your rose. The next step then will be to add the leaf to it. And we've already done this ahead of time. Fold these leaves back. You can curve them or curl them however you want to. I just make a little X in the center, not too big. Being very careful not to cut myself. And then I just push this through like so. Get almost to the top, and then I'm going to hot glue all the way around the rim of this green leaf part. Unfortunately, with hot glue you have to work fairly quickly because it does dry fairly quickly. And then just put it all the way through. Push it up to the flower, let it dry, and if you want to, you can curve your flower petals or your leaves too, like you did your flower petals. It just adds some natural curvature to a flower and the softness of it. And there's your flower. Your rose is complete. So then the next step that I do is I have a vase, and I don't have this one prepared to show how to insert it, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So you need a piece of foam to go inside of your vase. Position your flowers in there evenly spaced, and you're going to have a lot of empty space. And so one of the things that I really love is when I am doing a flower bouquet is to just fill it full of greenery, tons and tons of greenery, because that is really what's going to make your arrangement beautiful. You can do tons of different things. It's all up to your own imagination how you want to do it. But I just found these at Walmart, and right now they're on clearance for 75 cents for a whole thing of them. And I take them and I will put them on a flower pick and just wire them on like so. And then they are ready to just insert in all of the bare spots. You can break this off if you need to. You can make it as long as you need to, depending on the size of your flower arrangement. And you can use any, I would prefer to use a variety of greenery, so it's not just one type of greenery. And it just adds to the interest of the bouquet. Another thing you can do is, say if you're doing like a baby shower or something for a wedding, maybe, is you can use some of this netting in the same way. Just take it, bunch it up like so, and then just wire it on your pick. You can do this in conjunction with the greenery if you want to, and then just insert it in your flower arrangement however you want it. I also have another shinier kind. It's a little bit lighter, that if you don't want so much to show, if you don't want it so bold, or just want to add a little sparkle, you can put that in there too. So this is how I have done the flower arrangement. I had a huge response to it on the Cricuts for Learning and Newbies and Pros, and I hope you enjoy how it turned out, and I can't wait to see the creations that you come up with.